with the nuns. I went over to the convent and I got my safety glasses, and I'm like, here you go. This, what, $4 at home? I don't need this.
Like, how is it a little bit different from like maybe those same ages you'd see here, like in America?
I mean, that first mass, that 2-hour mass, like you could hear a pin drop. These kids were like present in the mass, like, because even sometimes like adults have trouble. I mean, I have trouble like staying present in the mass.
Kind of like a vital part of our faith, right? Is like being Christ-like in our service, because definitely service can come off as like a very prideful thing. Started here. I think it was. All right, we'll get started here, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Faithful Amphibian. I'm here with my friend Jill Fernandes. Say hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
So I've known Jill for quite a few years now. We started on the Diocesan Youth Council, which you always remind me about, which was fun. That was during COVID, right?
It was during COVID. Like, we all got a letter in the mail to invite us
to a Zoom link.
Yeah.
An ominous Zoom link.
Yeah, and then we just sat there.
Yeah.
Got cameras off.
Yeah, we did like one event, and then it kind of fell apart. And then we got back together when you started doing confirmation retreats.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was
mark.
Good. The mark.
Or as Joey would say, the mock.
The mock. But yeah, so today we're just going to kind of interview you. Also wanted to talk about your time you just spent in Rwanda and a little bit about Rise Rwanda, which is a charity nonprofit that you're on the board of. So that's pretty cool. So I guess let's just get started from the beginning a little bit on your background. So where do you live?
I grew up in New Bedford, but I live in Westport now.
Westport, right. And then you going to school, you went to, well, actually for church. Like, where do you go now for Mass usually? Still St. Lawrence?
Still St. Lawrence, yeah.
St. Lawrence. And so a little bit of your story is you went to Holy Family, Holy Name.
Yes. Yeah, so I went there from 1st to 8th grade. I was in a class with my twin sister, and yeah, we just grew up there.
Yeah. What are some of the things you guys did while you were there? I know you had quite the resume leaving.
Yeah. We were basically maintenance in 4th grade. I remember, like, they'd be like, oh, we need tables set up in the gym. Like, we're going to have a whole bunch of dads stay after this event. Jill and Trish, you're in charge. Like, these, like, little 4th graders. They're like, and the dads listen to us. And we'd be like, oh, we need this here, this there. Can you move this into the hallway, that into that room? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, thank you, sir. Like, looking up. But yeah.
That was fun. I mean, it was a pretty small school, right?
When I was a kid, there was like 300 there. So one of the bigger Catholic schools. It started to dwindle down over the years, but so did every Catholic school. Yeah.
But okay, so, and that's what you were saying before, like you had like 20 or 30 like kids per class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were with like the same class all throughout.
Yeah, some kids came in and out through the years, but yeah, essentially the same kids all the way up.
Cool. And then for high school, you went to
New Bedford Voc.
Bedford Voc, and you took
childcare.
And how'd you like childcare there?
It was good. Like, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, so it kind of gave me the experience, and I got like my ECE certification for free. I started co-op at Holy Family my junior year, so I worked there all through high school, but I was there like during the school day, like junior and senior year. So, and I got paid to be there. So yeah,
helps to get paid. Cool. And then we won't go down the rabbit hole of college again, but so now you're teaching at St. Francis Xavier.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you're teaching? Because I know you're just, again, not just doing one thing at St. Francis Xavier.
It's never just one thing at a Catholic school. Holy Family, I'd be in the preschool classroom and the teacher would be like, oh, can you do this? And I'm like, no, sorry, I got to go fix a toilet, you know? So yeah, St. Francis, I got hired as the 5th grade aide. Yeah, the 5th grade aide. And then I also started a drama club that year. And then currently I am the preschool to fourth grade gym teacher. I run some of the technology classes. I still run the drama club. I am in charge of extended care, and the list goes on and on.
Nice. It seems like a good community there at St. Francis, like very vibrant, a lot of like young families. And is it one of the biggest schools now in the diocese?
I'm not sure. I know Fall River has a few, but I know nothing about those. When Holy Family closed, they merged with St. James St. John, so they have a decent amount of kids from either school. Yes, but St. Francis is great. It's different from Holy Family than like what I grew up experiencing in some ways, but in other ways it's the same. You know, like having the small classes, the same kids going all the way up. You're basically brothers and sisters by the end. Yeah. And then I was just saying this the other day, in some ways, like they're more, I find, I don't want to say anything wrong. They're more like, I feel like as you grow up, they're more focused on the book portion of faith compared to at Holy Family, we were so focused on the service portion of faith. And that's where I kind of...
those were your roots.
Yeah, that was aspect, So serving others has been like passed down through the Fernandes side of the family, like for generations. So just seeing the difference, but also helping serve and teaching some of the kids how to serve.
Yeah.
Not teaching them, but like getting them involved. Yeah. That I just love doing that.
Yeah. And you were saying before too at Holy Family, like that's kind of where you first, and you just said again, that's where you kind of got the roots for service. Like where did that come from? Like, was it some examples or certain people?
Yeah. So at Holy Family, when I was little, like obviously, like you're just sitting at an assembly in the gym with like your buddy or whatever, and you would just see like older kids up there moving chairs, moving boxes, even just you're passing the gym, they're sweeping the floor, you know? And I'm like, oh, I want to be like that. Like I want to help people. That was the principal's like thing, like helping others. So yeah, a lot of those older kids that I saw as a kid, like they were a great example to me, and I just wanted to strive to be like them throughout the years. And then, like I said, I grew up doing that, and then 4th, 5th, 6th grade, like we started getting some like leadership roles. And then 7th and 8th grade, like we were there nights, weekends with my dad, just cleaning the school and just knowing the school like the back of our hand. And I graduated 8th grade on Saturday and started working there on Monday for summer maintenance in the summer camp. So that school was just really a place for me. It was like my second home. But yeah, it was a place that instilled like faith and service and just being there for others and being like Christ.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a vital part of our faith, right? Is like being Christ-like in our service, because definitely service can come off as like a very prideful thing. It can turn into that. But that's why, I mean, it's kind of nice that you're part of this Rise Rwanda. Nice segue. Which you're on the board for. And our mutual friend Bia was the one who kind of like started it with Father Leonard and kind of expanded it to what it is today. How many years? Is this the 3rd year?
I think it was like 2020. Like started, it was, I don't know.
3rd or 4th year? Because I mean, I go by the fundraising that.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be the 3rd or 4th. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about Rise, and then we'll kind of go into some of the service stuff about it.
Yeah. So I was asked to be on the board. I did a lot for the diocese. So whether it was like the retreats with you or meeting people through that. I met Bia at CLI in 2018. Yeah, and then I was on my Yes as a candidate. She was on team. The next year she was co-director, and I was asked to be on team. Then the year after that, Becky was on that team, Becky Couette, and she asked me to be on her Yes when she was the director. So then after that, or it was at a meeting actually. It was in November because they were just starting to sell the Christmas calendars. And I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll buy one. So I bought one or two. And then Becky called me like around Thanksgiving and was like, oh, do you want to be on the board? And I'm like, I have so much going on. Like so much. And yeah, I remember I was like driving right down the road near the mall. And I was with my grandmother and I got a text or a call from Becky and it was like, hey, have you thought about the board? And I was like ready to say no. I'm like, that's another thing to commit to. But then I'm like, no, I have to say yes. So I said yes. And our first meeting was in January. And then it was January of, I think, 2021 or 2022. Yeah, I think 2022 or something. But yeah, because then they went on a mission trip. 3 of our board members went on a mission trip to Rwanda in August of 2022. And yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's great that you're a part of it, kind of continuing that service. So, like, for people who don't know where Rwanda is, because I didn't know for a long time. Maybe I still don't know. But kind of like, where is it? What's like some of the situation there and like why there's a need for you guys to have a whole work for it?
Yeah. So Rwanda is in southeastern Africa. Okay. I tell people it's like a lot of people don't know the countries over there. So I'm like, well, it's kind of like near Madagascar because like people know where that is. Right, you know, it's not near there, but like that's
that port. Yeah. I gotcha.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, you went to South Africa. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Southern Africa, not South.
Yeah, I went to Southern. Yeah. But yeah, so there is just. Some areas have a lot of are in a lot of poverty. Poverty.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just helping people, whether it's helping the families, the kids with school, with food. The nuns, the Franciscan nuns, do all the groundwork for us right now, and they're supporting the kids. The convent's right here. The Rise house, which we bought a couple years ago. I don't know the exact date, but the Rise house, which we, like Rise Rwanda, bought a couple years ago, is right next door. So they like share a fence. But yeah, so they're right there. Some of the nuns live at the Rise house and they take care of the kids. They make them the food. They just... like, it's a place for people to go whenever they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not an orphanage. Like, unfortunately, we do have some kids who still live on the street because it's really encouraged for them to go live with their families. But, like, sometimes that just can't happen, which is unfortunate. But, like, the nuns do the best they can, give them what they can. Before us, like, the nuns were giving their money and their stuff, which isn't like nuns don't. Yeah,
you can only give so much.
Yeah,
and they don't have like the means necessarily.
Yeah, so we launched our sponsorship program last year, and yeah, we got all of our kids sponsored. You awesome. Actually sponsor.
I do sponsor a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got all of our kids sponsored and it's great. And Bia went in 2022 and she was talking about the difference between the kids then and the kids now. And like
Do you notice a difference?
Yeah, there's a huge difference, like the way they're dressed and the way they like just look. They look healthy,
Yeah.
you know, and compared
That's awesome.
to how she saw them originally, like they didn't, you know.
So because you just came back, right? You were there for a week this year, 2024.
9 days, but
9
yeah.
days. And was that the whole board or most of the board that went?
4 out of 6 of us went.
That's good. How many in total went?
8.
8. And so what was like some of the things you were doing while you were there this time around?
Well, we all had like our specialties, I guess. So there were 3 nurses that went, and they did on the Tuesday they did like a clinic and took intake for all the kids. Becky is a principal, and she's been an educator for years, so she did like we did a day of stations with the kids, so she wrote letters with them to the sponsors. We had a mom and a daughter come, and they were like making bracelets, and someone was, I don't remember exactly what everyone was doing, but people were making bracelets with the kids for their sponsors, and like even just playing with Play-Doh or playing soccer. Like I said, at St. Francis, I'm a gym teacher, so like I was playing soccer with them a little bit, but my main focus was like the construction part. So I was painting. We had Deacon Joe Martino from St. Julie's. He was there. He painted a mural with the kids. So they were able to like put their handprints on it. They love soccer. We did a full soccer game. And we just like, some days it was just as simple as going to feed them, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I was doing more of the construction side. So like I said, painting, we got some concrete. We were cleaning. We all pitched in and were cleaning up like an alleyway. It looked like people just like dumped bricks over there over the years. There was still like mortar on it, so probably like took a building down or something.
Yeah,
and then
just tossed it.
Yeah, but we were able to just make it nicer.
Yeah, I mean, because from what I understood originally, and how like Bia originally got involved with Father Leonard with the sisters over there, was kind of like they didn't have a ton of like resources, like you just said, and also like the backing. I mean, I think, you know, the diocese, you know, does as best they can over there, but you know, in places like that, it's stretched thin. So it was more just like support, you know, maybe not so much new ideas, because I think they pretty much know what they need to be done. It's just they
just needed people to help and in different ways. But we asked them to like make a list, the nuns to make a list of what they needed, and one of the biggest ones was like food for the kids, and that's where the sponsorship program came in. And like just if God forbid something were to happen, like support in that way we could help, or someone could help. But another huge thing was like running water. So they had a quote for a well, and it took a while to get the permits, but a year ago, I believe January or February of 2023, somewhere around there, we got pictures of like the well being installed, and the diocese like let us use their property. I believe it was the diocese.
Oh, like where the convent's on.
Yeah, but it was like behind it.
Gotcha.
So then they ran a well, and when we were there, the tanks were there, the water tanks, and the lines were there, but it hadn't been hooked up to the well yet because the permits took forever. When we were there, we were like lucky enough to see the well get hooked up to the tank, and heard the tank getting full.
That was a long process.
Yeah. So everything was ready. It was just getting that. I mean, it's like getting that final signature, you know, which usually takes a while.
Right.
Yeah. So it was cool to see. Like I knew that they were doing that, and I was standing there and just watching. I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
And the group comes over, and Bia's like, "Did you take pictures?" I'm like, "No, I'm watching." But yeah, so it was cool to see, and that was like a big moment for a lot of people, like not just the nuns or the kids, but like us too. Like we did that, you know, and we didn't do it, but we helped them. Okay. Yeah, we helped them. But yeah, so now they have running water. And yeah, we're looking forward. Like the first thing, one of the first things we did was a walkthrough of the property. So there's a few other projects that need to be done. But like over the next year or 2 years, we hope to get those projects done and help more people and just make it like better, safer. Safer meaning like the kitchen, like the roof is like all ash because there's not proper ventilation in there. The kitchen in the Rise house. So we're just hoping that's a project that we're going to do and just supporting them in any way that we can.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you guys did do a pretty decent amount of work while you were there. So I want to talk too, like, because we talked in the beginning about, you know, the service and how you're kind of bringing Christ to the people you serve. Kind of what was some of the experiences you had while you were there that kind of, you know, follow that way of thinking? Like, was it maybe somebody you remember, or, you know, just like a certain project?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this kind of stuff takes a while to process. So I feel like I'm still processing it. So when this episode comes out, I might be like, oh, I should have said this. Yeah. But like, I don't know. It was just being there, and I love just helping in any way I can. So when I'm painting my sets and everything, like, you have to make it look good for the people. I'm painting a mural or doing something that people are going to see every day. And I'm like, this has to be good, you know, which it was, the 2 murals I did, but, well, 2 like symbols, little symbols. Yeah, but I think it was like people would turn the corner and some speak some English, some of the nuns, some of the people who work and live on the property, but some people don't. And they were still like clapping, or it looks good, or good job, you know. So just seeing the smiles on their faces, like, that's what made me happy. And like playing soccer with the kids, it was like a small area when we were doing the stations. It was a small area, and I get the soccer ball because like some kids were not at a station yet, so I'm like, what can I do with them? So I get the soccer ball, and I'm like, I don't want them to like go play pass and run around and bump into people. So I'm like, okay, like trying to like gesture to get in a circle. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna get in a circle, and we played like pass, like just within the circle, like keep in the circle. I guess, I don't know what else you would call it, but and then as it went out, like that person would be out, and like they finally started to get it. But yeah, like just doing stuff, being with the kids, being with the nuns, like that was nice. Yeah.
Well, like you were saying earlier about, you know, when you were at Holy Family, Holy Name, and you had the example of like those older students who were kind of doing just like, to the kids, I'm sure it was mundane, like pushing a broom or moving a box. But to you, it like had such an impact because you saw them actually doing something. I'm sure that like a lot of the kids, you know, in Rwanda at the, you know, at that center are probably thinking some of the same things, like, oh, look at this person, you know, she came all the way to help us, you know, and it's kind of like multi-leveled, right? Because on one hand, like you're showing them how to serve, like, you know, helping, like, you know, fix things, you know, do the cementing, do the painting, but then also like just there's another level of, you know, oh, like where, you know, like why did she come here? Like, what's so special about me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm living on the street. Why am I worth flying halfway around the world to help?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that.
And that's the thing, like just the little things help. Like whether it's giving them, like we gave all of them well, we could, but like we made like bundles for each kid of clothes, and depending on the age level, like school supplies or notebooks or coloring books or whatever. And like everyone got like a toothbrush and toothpaste and stuff like that. And they loved it. Like it was great for them.
Yeah.
And then like it's just small things like what can I give, you know? And whether it's to the nuns or wherever, when they were installing the water, when they were installing the water, this guy had a hammer, and he was like digging out the trench with the hammer. He was hitting concrete, and I'd look over and I'm just walking through and I'm like, oh, okay, like whatever. But then I look closer and he has no eye protection and the stuff is flying everywhere. So I went over, we stayed in the convent with the nuns. I went over to the convent and I got my safety glasses and I'm like, here you go. Like this, $4 at home. I don't need this. You know, if this will impact your day, like your work life, and maybe save your eye, like I don't need this week. It doesn't need to go home in my suitcase. So it was like the same, like my work gloves are there. I don't know where they are. But I'm hoping someone found them, you know? But I'm like, I don't need them. Like I need them for work, but I don't need those.
All right. So all right. So one thing I wanted to ask was about kind of like, you know, service is a big part of your life. I think it definitely has an influence on your faith, because you know you're a very faithful person. A lot of your service has to do with your faith. And I know you said you're still processing it. You're still like 3 weeks behind on processing things. But like, would you say that going and doing this type of service work had a positive impact on your faith, and like maybe more or less because it was overseas, kind of like in a different community than you're used to?
Yeah. I mean, we had a conversation the other day where I mentioned like my faith life it's always been on like this roller coaster. I like to look at it like that. Like it goes up and down for everyone. But yeah, my faith life was struggling. I feel like after the last retreat, like the Newman retreat, like it was, you always have a retreat high, right?
Right. Then a retreat crash.
Yeah, and then so that retreat was tough. I feel like that's when it started to go down. Like on that Friday, the opening day, my grandmother went to the hospital, and then I think it was the Friday night or maybe the Saturday night, one of the nights. I got a call from my mom at 11:45, and she's like, so I got home from the hospital and I asked your sister to let the dogs out, and since the fence fell down in the last storm, like your dog got out, and Tolly, my stepdad, found her like in the road, and I was like, was she okay? And she's like, no. So she's like, are you gonna come home? I'm like, what's that gonna do? You know? So I'm walking around and I was like bawling, you know?
That was a tough weekend.
Yeah.
You were stressed.
Yeah, I was like already bawling on the way up, and then I came down, and Leanne was on the phone in like the dining room. I felt so bad. Like she was on the phone with her boyfriend. She barely talks to him, like on a retreat, you know? So she was like, Jill, what's wrong? So we were talking for a little bit, but like after that, like my faith was like, it was like steady. I still taught CCD and everything. Like that helps me get back. But yeah, then in May, I get a call from my mom, and my grandmother was like struggling with her health. But I get a call from my mom, and she's like, or a text. She's like, do you have class today? I'm like, no, it just ended. I had a show to prepare for the next day. I'm like, I have to prepare for the show. She's like, no, you need to come home after work. I'm like, what's wrong? So she's like, Graham needs to talk to you. So I'm like, okay. So I go home and like I tell my boss, I'm like, I need to go. I go home and my grandmother tells me that she just got word that she had cancer. So it was like all over her body. They didn't know if it was in her brain yet. And she said, if my sisters are watching this, turn it off now. She said, Jill, I wanted to talk to you first because I want to do the treatment for you. Like, if I can do the treatment, like, I don't want you to think I'm giving up on you. Mm. And I'm like, I don't want you to hurt more because of me, you know? So then she told my sisters, my other sisters, she told them, and they were upset and everything. But I was thinking and like everything. Then I had a show. I was directing a show the next day. So I'm over there. My friend's like, Jill, what's wrong? She was sitting right near me. I'm like, my grandmother, like, she has cancer. So I'm crying at the booth mid-show. Everyone thinks I'm crying because these kids are singing. But yeah, so after that, like, my faith started to go down. Like, Danny might judge me for this because Joe did. But I didn't go to church. And then a week and a half later, my grandmother passed from cancer. So like my last mass before Rwanda was the funeral. So yeah, it was just tough. Then I went through the summer, and the summer was like go, 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 you know? I was working for a contractor, then I went on a cruise, and then I was running a theater camp, and then New Hampshire, and then like straight from New Hampshire on a plane to Rwanda. So I feel like Rwanda gave me a place to reconnect with my faith, but because it was also like the first place I like stopped, you know, even though it was still go, 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 like it was the first place I actually was like to myself, you know?
Yeah.
And the first day we were there, that night, the nuns have prayer at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So 6 a.m. they have a daily mass, and then breakfast at 7. And 6 p.m. is evening prayer, and then dinner at 7. So the first evening prayer we went to, the first evening prayer, I was sitting there, and we all like spread out a little bit in their chapel, it's a beautiful chapel. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you look, not to say the convent isn't nice, but the chapel's like beautiful.
Show me a photo after.
Yeah. So I'm just sitting there, and the nuns are singing, and like they're singing so like beautifully. I don't know what they're saying, you know, like I don't know what's going on. But it was like the first place that I felt like connected to God in a little bit. So I just started like, not like bawling, but I just started like crying, and like I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't want people to see me cry, you know? So I'm looking around, and later in the week I had a conversation with Bia, and I was like, yeah, that first night I was like bawling. She's like, really? I'm like, okay, good. Like, no one noticed, you know? And if they did, they didn't say anything. Yeah, but it was like the first time that I was like able to just talk to God. And I felt connected to my grandmother in a way while I was there. Because like she's the one who helped me go on this trip, and I was like, this is like the thing I would call her about, you know, and tell her. Yeah. So it was hard, but at the same time, I'm like, it's good for me, you know? And then we had mass every day, every morning, like I said. And
yeah, it's like a retreat on its own.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. Just even though you don't understand it, like you still understand it.
Yeah.
You know? Then mass that Sunday. It's not hot there. It's like it's dry air, so it's not too hot. It wasn't bad. That Sunday mass was like 2 hours, they were like, oh, we can go to the cathedral, which some people wanted to go to the cathedral. That mass would have been like 3 hours. Yeah. So that mass would have been like 3 hours. And we may have guests.
That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that mass would have been like 3 hours. So they were like, yeah, let's go to the 2-hour one. So we go to that one, and it was still nice.
It wasn't a holy day, right? Just a regular Sunday mass.
Yeah, I mean, there was one holy something. I forgot what it was for. But they changed out the altar cloths to red for the daily mass. And it was just like the daily masses were like 45 minutes. Like here they're like 30. 45, 50 minutes. And then Father Leonard came, and he was doing a mass one morning, and it was like bilingual. Like he did the gospel and the homily in English, everything else in Rwandan, I think. But yeah, so his essential bilingual mass was 35 minutes. I'm like, that's crazy how like the difference in time, you know? But yeah, so then after that, I was just able to connect with my faith the rest of the week and just be present and do and just try to be calm, you know? Because like you're in a different country, you don't know anything. And I'm like, I know the people, but...
Yeah. Plus, too, like on this trip, like you were saying before, your faith is strongest kind of when you're serving, because that is like an aspect of our faith. And so like on that trip, it really was just full like service. It wasn't really, and it was more like of a faithful service. It wasn't like a, you know, you're running to like, not that you can't serve at a theater camp, but it's like more impactful. It seems like, in certain ways. Cool. So then the last question I had was on second to last. Second to last. Oh yeah, second to last. While you were there, obviously you were with a lot of different kids. What were the age ranges? It was like 6 to.
No, we have like I think he's 2, so we have a 2-year-old all the way to 18, and then there are some kids who
young
are
adults.
Yeah, young adults, older than 18 who still come and either they help or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have kids in that age range.
So yeah, I was wondering, like, what did their faith look like from what you could tell? Like, how is it a little bit different from like maybe those same ages you'd see here, like in America?
I mean, that first mass, that 2-hour mass, like you could hear a pin drop. Like kids at our churches, which is it's fine, but like
they're dropping kneelers left and right.
Yeah, and like these kids were like present in the mass, which it was like cool to see, like because even sometimes like adults have trouble. I mean, I have trouble like staying present in the mass. Right. Sometimes because of those kids moving around, like you're watching them, you know. But yeah, it was like they are fully just invested. Yeah. And the kids, like they help. They do what they know. So it was sometimes they would not really ambush, but like if we came out with something like a gift, they would like, they don't know to make a line. Like we can't, we don't know how to say that. So for us to say that, it doesn't make sense. But so they just kind of ambush. But like once the nuns were like, no, make a line, like they would. And they would, a lot of the kids would say, thank you. Like we had this one boy at the soccer game, like he was like in charge. Like his name is Justin, and he was like taking the lead, and he was like, no, everyone do this, everyone do that. Cause we brought soccer jerseys. So, I mean, it's kids like same as we have here. You have some that take the lead, some that take advantage. And not to say any were taking advantage, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. You just have those different, they were so excited and they loved it. And like that soccer game was like one of the highlights of their weeks, you know? I think. I mean, they were all wearing the jerseys. The next couple days, they would see us go in the car or on the bus.
Were those the blue shirts? Or those their
shirts.
outfits? I saw like in some pictures, kids with like blue shirts.
Oh, like the blue shirt, blue pants. Those are their outfits. We brought jerseys, Bishop Stang and Aponequid. They were, which it's funny enough because like they're rivals, right? Yeah. But they were kind enough to donate soccer jerseys. Nice. So we brought those for them, and they loved it. Like they were having like the time of their lives, you know. Yeah. We brought soccer nets, which we're hoping to set up in the future. But yeah, like to see the kids involved there, and just whether it was serving or at church or just waiting for the nuns, like when the nuns are like, okay, let's pray, like they're silent, you know. Like they respect the nuns so much. And like here I'll be running my drama club, and not to say my kids don't listen, but they sometimes have a hard time getting to that silent point of we're gonna do this, you know. But like it's just excitement, you know, and kids are always excited. So whether you can get them to that point or you have trouble getting them to that point, like they're still kids, and they're gonna be there anyway. And like you just do the best you can with them, you know.
That's good. I mean, it sounds like, especially because of all the work that like Rise Rwanda is doing, they are benefiting from all that, all the donations, all the service that the board puts in, and also, you know, some of the other people who go to help support. Yeah. It's good to hear that their faith too is like pretty on fire down there. I think it's easy for them to maybe feel, you know, like, oh, poor me, like, look, I'm in this situation, like there's no way out of it. But it seems like a lot of them do come back, because it's not like mandatory that they show up every day, right? Like they could just not show up. No,
it's not. And they come to be with their friends. They come to obviously get food, but they also...
But they stay.
They stay. And like that week they were there more because we were there, and they still came every day. Yeah. Like even if it was just for a short time or for the soccer game, you know, they still showed up, and they were there, you know. And it's like I was saying before about my confirmation class, like I start my year every year and I say, guys, I know it's hard to be a teenager, you know, especially here. It's hard to be a teenager, and it's hard to connect to your faith while you have so much going on. But no matter how far you stray away, you can always come back. Like the door is right there. And I'm like, confirmation, like it's not graduation. Like this isn't your last step. Like for these kids in Rwanda, like it's not their last step. Like they can come back and they can visit and they can just be good people, whether they're in the house or not, you know. And we are lucky enough to have some people that help us there, because the nuns can't do everything. Right. But yeah.
Great. Awesome. And so where if people want to help support like Rise Rwanda, like where's the best place to kind of check out, you know, where they could donate or where they could see what's going on?
We have a Instagram, we have a Facebook, and we have our website, riserwanda.org, I believe. Perfect. Just look for the symbol.
And her face on the homepage?
I don't think my face is on the homepage. If it is, I'll ask them to take it down. But so I'm excited for the future and to see what projects we can do next and who we can help next.
Awesome. Well, there's just one last question. And it's Jill. Do you frog?
I do frog, Joe.
She frogs. She frogs. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jill, for being here. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule of service to come here with us. And thank you for all you do, you know, in the church and the diocese as well. Everybody in the diocese knows who Jill is because she does everything for everybody. So May we just end in a prayer, if you don't mind?
Well, I have a question for you, Joe.
Oh, sure.
Are you coming to Rwanda next time?
Maybe. Only if Nick goes with me.
Nick will go.
All right, so let's end in a prayer quickly. So in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, I just want to say thank you for this time that we got to spend together discussing the service and the work that you call us to do. Just want to ask that you continue to bless Jill with the direction that you're calling her into, that you may bless all the service projects that she's involved with and all the people that she touches in these projects. We ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, can you clap for me? Thank you. Such a snob. Can I get you out of here?
Sure.